You're about to hear a favorite from the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze archive. This show originally aired in 2016.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh.
It's great to have you joining the party on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze, the place to eat, drink, and be merry. Oh, do we have a show lined up for you? Because we have Clancy Miller, and wow, is she good. She's done a book called Cooking Solo, and it's for people who end up being singletons, whether by choice or not. You know, if you've got a busy family and you somehow are eating by yourself, or you are single, great. You can blow up any of these recipes, you know, double, triple, quadruple, if you're having people over. But she is great in terms of her taste in ingredients and has worked at some of the best places in Paris and has been trained at Le Cordon Bleu, worked at the legendary restaurant Taïwan. Oh my God, she is really something. We're going to be talking with her later on. Her polenta, it was so incredible with Parmigiano Reggiano, and it's the easiest thing to make, as easy as making rice. Seriously. Okay, here we go. My treasured food buddies are here. Senior contributors, Robin Doyen-Aiken, who's also senior producer, Chris Prosperi, Metro Beast Restaurant, Alex Provins, wine broker in Hartford. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
All right, let's do this. We are still getting the harvest from the markets. I am still eating corn. You know, salads. You know, you just have had every salad through the summer, right?
Yeah.
So I want to toss out a salad that I think is a great idea. This is inspired by something I saw in Bon Appetit magazine. I just think you don't even need the recipe for this, because here's what I want you to think of. You're just simply going to either steam, microwave, boil, whatever you do with corn, chop it off the cob, just take a knife, boom, 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 down all the sides into a bowl, and then toss in some toasted hazelnut nuts, a little pecorino cheese, and mint. That's the four things you need. I don't care how much of anything you do. Need. I could give you a specific recipe. It's ridiculous.
Very Moroccan.
The corn, toasted hazelnuts, pecorino cheese. You can get it absolutely anywhere. You grate it in, and chopped up mint. Just toss, toss, toss. And you can do a vinaigrette and maybe a little squeeze of fresh orange juice in there. That's what I'm taking from the Bon Appetit recipe, the fresh orange juice. It has that crispiness, it has the cheesiness, it has the mint playing off everything.
Is this a side dish?
This would
spoon,
be,
please.
I could eat this for dinner. I really could. I mean, it's a beautiful salad to bring out for people, but I certainly could have it for a whole dinner.
Do you chill it a little bit in the refrigerator and make it refreshing?
You could. I, like at room temperature, but it doesn't matter.
I
Whatever
love
you
chopped
like.
salads, especially when you're right in the season, right? And you have stuff still coming.
It's too hot to eat.
Yeah, just chop up everything, throw it in a bowl. Even if you toss it with like a store-bought dressing, it doesn't matter. It's just so tasty.
Yeah, it is. And we
tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, whatever it is, kohlrabi, whatever, doesn't matter. Just chop it up, put it in a bowl, dress it.
Glug of olive oil, salt, pepper.
Exactly. Remember, and you can either do fresh lemon juice on it, or you can do some kind of vinegar that you like. Remember last time, so if you want to go to our site, you can see last time we tell you how to use fresh market vegetables to preserve them and use them all winter long. So that's foodschmooze.org. So want to do some food tips, because I always think this is fun. We cruise around and we look at all kinds of things to come up with ideas. I also, in that process, stumbled on a recipe for, I love grits. I'm just crazy about grits.
For breakfast?
Really, for anything, any reason, anytime. Lemon, garlic, shrimp, and grits.
Yeah,
now that's
grits.
It's a kind of play on a Southern thing. Yeah. I've had grits in Charleston in every way imaginable, but I think this is a wonderful thing. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Okay, tips in the kitchen. If you have, I've been using a spiralizer quite a lot to take fresh vegetables and do pretend noodles, so that I'm not having too much pasta, because I could eat it every single day. Chris, you got any kind of kitchen tip?
You know what you're saying with your spiralizer? You know what mine is? I have this little Japanese mandolin. and you can get it in like some stores or online. It's like $12, and it's very inexpensive.
Is it tan?
Yeah,
like
it's
an
tan.
off-white?
Yeah, it's an off-white tan.
It's the same one.
See, that's so
And
much better
it is-
than the expensive one.
And it's almost disposable at $12, $13, right? When you're done with it, you just chuck it. And I'm telling you, you can do julienne. It has a bigger one. Or when I'm just slicing things, like if I want to slice some red onion to put on top of a tomato salad and I want it paper thin, you can adjust this thing down to where you slice and you can see through.
Chris, that is so fantastic. Do you know this? If you have a fancy mandolin, and they can cost up to $300.
The stainless steel kind.
Oh, yes, with the 4,000 blades and all this business. That's all well and good. The cleaning of that thing is so outrageous that it's like another job. And so with this $12
goes in
model,
the dishwasher.
it's just like...
It really does.
It's
you
like
just
really
chuck it in the
fantastic.
dishwasher and you're
You know,
done.
Matt went to high school in the Dominican Republic and bought one of those because they make, is it plantanitos or the fried plantains?
sure. Yeah,
they
you have to
love.
slice them.
You know, and
Yeah.
it sounds
Yeah.
like it's like an off-white sort
Yeah.
of like cheap,
But it-
flimsy thing.
But it works.
Yeah, he loves it.
That's like the dessert potato chip, isn't it? Plantains, fried
Yeah,
plantains.
oh, yeah, totally.
Does it have
Brown
it's
sugar,
Not, it's sort
butter.
of like starchy, right?
So one of the things I love to do, and this comes from Marie Coelho, Rose Coelho's late mother. She made the best lasagna I've ever had in my life, and always, it was an eggplant parmesan. But you would use Chris's $12 mandolin and take an eggplant and slice it paper thin. Most people slice the slices very, and of course, Rose's mother did it by hand with a knife, and she could go chop, 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 and do it paper thin. I can't. So if you use this inexpensive mandolin, slice, 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 and it's paper thin, you put olive oil in the bottom of a baking dish, and then you put a overlapping layer of these paper thin eggplant slices, then a little grated cheese. She would sometimes put meat in her tomato sauce,
yeah.
but the tomato sauce,
Sausage.
and now another layer, but not globs as we do in the American version of mozzarella. She would do Parmigiano Reggiano or some other cheese, just grated, layer by layer by layer by layer, and then sauce and cheese on the top, and that was it. So she would make a sauce, sometimes with meat, sometimes not, and it was hands down the best eggplant lasagna I've ever had in my life, or any kind of lasagna. It was incredible. There was no bechamel. There was no anything like that.
It's called the Ben Rinner.
Where's it
Japanese
from?
mandolin.
So it really is Japanese.
Yeah.
How do you
it's the
spell
Ben
it,
Rinner,
Chris?
BenRiner, Japanese mandolin. And it goes, I'm looking on eBay, it goes anywhere from like $15 to $25.
Okay.
And it's the best thing you'd ever buy. It's very small. And like I said, it's dishwasher safe.
Fantastic.
It's a great little kitchen tool.
And do you put the blades in the dishwasher too?
Yeah, you can.
We do,
Sure.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, of course
All
you can.
right.
You know what we've been doing is taking par cooking chicken ahead of time. So we cook it your way, Chris, like low and slow forever.
Sure.
So we're starting to make like 2 or 3 dinners at a time. So we'll be cooking tonight's dinner, and then we'll be par cooking chicken, and then put that in Ziploc bags. And next night, some barbecue sauce or something, or bring it down to the boat. And, once you're cooking, you get into the mood. You just cook 3 dinners. It takes about the same amount of time. Cleanup is identical. You're
I
set
try
for
to
the
teach
week.
that
I'm just looking.
Yeah, I try to teach my kid that too.
Robin?
Is you cook once, eat
Wait,
twice.
I have to find out.
Yeah, Robin?
You too are looking with astonishment.
Well, I was thinking that that's almost as good as in Rachel Ray. There's a story about cooking one day for an entire month. So that's sort
Wow.
of
Get
like
the
what.
freezer full, and you don't have to
Yes.
go back in the kitchen. Everything's
Seriously?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'm totally in.
Wow.
I thought that was quite the challenge.
I just am baffled because
You have to be like part squirrel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and organized. Boy, do you have to be right and
I'm just
plan
gonna
it
bury
out.
this meatloaf
meal
over
plan.
here.
God.
I know. Most
can't
people,
make
yeah,
why I
most
like
people
that
have a
part
hard time
squirrel.
cooking on the weekends for the week. And here's this idea of cooking,
3
complete with a
nights and
shopping
one
list
night
and everything.
after work. I'm just baffled. I'm staring at you with my jaw hanging on the
I
floor.
know.
It's just like, oh, wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking, what I've been doing is cooking in a rice cooker. Do you have a rice cooker?
I used to. I
The best
gave it away.
oatmeal.
I've been actually making
didn't know
dinner.
what to do with
I've
it.
been making dinners in it. I just looked at
have?
it the other day and I was like, you
What
know
do
what?
you
Why
do?
couldn't you make dinner in this thing? It goes up to a pretty high temperature if it simmers water to make rice. So just the other day, I wanted to do burritos for family meal. That's our staff meal in the restaurant. And I took a bowl, and in the bowl, I put a cup of rice, 2 cups of water. So there's my base. And then I went to my pantry and I grabbed a small can of black beans, drained them, threw them in there. I took a can of tomatoes and I threw them in there. Again, it's all in a bowl, right? And then I seasoned it with salt, pepper, cumin, chili powder, fresh cilantro, and I chopped up a jalapeno. And I got in there with a spoon, mixed it all up. I threw it in my rice cooker.
With the uncooked
Everything,
rice?
everything. All the water, the rice, the beans, everything. Oh, and I put chicken in it too. I chopped up some chicken breast and threw that in there too. Slapped the lid on and then hit it to cook, and I walked away. And then 15 minutes I came back. I took it, I popped it, took out the insert, dumped it in a bowl, fluffed it all up, and then we stuffed burritos and cheese with cheese and that filling and threw them in the oven. And then we were just eating it out of the bowl with a spoon, and it was amazing. And it took 15, 20
Really? You
minutes.
treated it
start
like
to finish.
an instant slow cooker.
Like an instant slow cooker.
fast cooker.
Fast cooker almost. Yeah, like a fast cooker.
A less slow cooker.
And then I started thinking about all the other one-pot meals that you could chuck in there. And you could even have it in your refrigerator, uncooked. And then when you came home, put that insert in there, close the lid, hit it to cook, go take your shower, come back downstairs, and dinner's ready.
So essentially, this is you can go to any Asian market and buy that 3-level steamer basket for what, $6 or something. You're steaming this food, right? Mm-hmm. And it's either cooking or reheating what's already in there.
And it's amazing. So I'm looking at this as a pretty cool new toy.
Chris, that is so
for me.
smart.
And I'm going to do salmon in it. I'm going to do some more chickens in it. And I'm going to come up
How
with
do you know how long to cook?
It shuts off at the perfect time because it's a weight trigger. You know how they work? So basically when you cook rice in it, when the water evaporates out, it gets lighter and it lifts up. And when that happens, it switches it to keep warm, which is great too, because even if you're not around, it'll stay on keep warm for hours, and that keeps it at a safe temperature.
So our friend Joe makes his Irish oatmeal. He swears by it.
Perfect.
I think he sets
In
it
the rice cooker?
In the rice cooker.
I think he sets it the night before or something
sure.
and wakes up
Yeah,
bright
it's
and
already
early
done.
and
Because
it's
you can
already
do that
done.
in a slow cooker,
Yeah.
but I see...
He swears by it.
And a
Loves
slow
it.
cooker keeps it warm through the night. But this would
Does the
not,
same
right?
thing. Oh yeah,
It
same
does?
thing. It switches automatically to warm.
Is it cheaper than a slow cooker or more expensive?
About the same.
Okay.
I just
so-
like it too because if you like pressure cooking, which I love,
Yeah.
right? That's my new thing. It has an element to that, even though the lid isn't like tight and steam does escape, it is like under a slight amount of pressure because there's a little valve that lets steam out. But not 100%, right? It just goes out slowly. So
Yeah.
it is under a light pressure almost.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, how about lobster rolls? So here we are in the
Oh,
Food
at the
Schmooze, and we
end.
know we have Clancy Miller is going to join us in our third segment, Cooking Solo. We're going to talk about lemon garlic shrimp and grits too in our next segment. But what about, has anybody had lobster roll they really enjoyed this summer in a particular place?
Oh, I made my own.
Well,
I
you made
did
the
too.
shrimp ones were great.
And
My-
that shrimp one, that
those were
recipe you
fun.
gave me.
They
that was
were
good
really
too.
fun.
For me, it's sitting out with my friend Bob and Alan at Johnny Ad's on a picnic table and in Old Saybrook. Yeah.
I like the one in Clinton at the dock too.
I mean, does it get any better than that? Like a rustic picnic table outside and
Got to do
maybe
one, at
some-
least one a summer. Even
In
though
fact,
school started and stuff, you can still
seafood
sit
gets
out
better.
there.
Seafood gets better in the colder months. I mean, I
Right,
think it's
true.
sort of like this notion that seafood's only for the summer, but in Europe, and like particularly in Spain, seafood is like a Christmas thing.
I went to Abbott's with a bunch of
Lobster in the
people.
Rough. I
haven't been
Lobster
there
in the
in
Rough in
years.
Noang, Connecticut. I hadn't been there in quite a while. And we were in a crowd of people, some of whom were gluten-free, and they now serve gluten-free buns. And so
Really?
I will say, when you do a business like that, it's huge. And so I fully expected that the hot lobster roll was going to come out and it was going to be tough.
Yeah.
And you just say, oh, whatever, I'm in it for the butter and the lemon. It was perfectly steamed. It really was.
You don't
I
get
have
to be an
say.
institution like that unless you
It
do
was
right,
really
right?
good.
That place
Oh,
has
they
been there
really good.
forever.
And it's just such a gorgeous setting. Yeah.
Rustic but funky. And,
Yeah.
right?
So is anyone else crabbing? Did you guys go crabbing this summer?
We didn't. No, I wanted to do crabs and try and make a
So
crab
much
sauce.
fun.
I
Oh my
know
gosh.
you did it.
I've seen some pictures online.
Yeah,
for
we
your
got pretty
crab.
good at it. We ended up catching, so the blue crabs are around and they're coming down the river in Essex. And
What did you use for bait?
well, we used bunker, so like a fish. So it's funny because the
And is it a trap, like a lobster trap?
No. So people will use chicken or people will use hot dogs, but the bait, the fish place was like, no, they don't eat chicken. They, they do eat, I guess, if you
They
throw it
do
in.
eat chicken. I can testify.
He's like, they eat fish.
I think they
you
eat
know?
anything.
They
Well,
eat chicken
they're-
legs.
They're
I can tell you.
scavengers.
Yeah, so they eat anything.
So the first night we went out with a spotlight in the dinghy with a net, and that was like proved to be pretty difficult.
They scuttle away.
What's the best way to get them then?
So you throw, it's a string with a little hook on it.
Yeah.
You put the fish or whatever,
Yeah, or
hot dog,
whatever.
and then you slowly bring the string in.
As they follow it?
No, they hold on to
they
it.
hold
They
on
won't
to
let
it.
it go. They think you're stealing their food. And then you scoop them down with the net. And then,
nice.
we were catching two at a time. And they're wonderful. I don't know if you could...
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
Then you
how do
sit
you
with a
cook
mallet.
them? How do you do that?
So we ended up buying the Zatarans, stuff from the South. It's
Yeah,
it's
for
salt,
the boil.
paprika, yeah. And then you can put them in a big pot with a beer, some apple cider
Did you
vinegar.
clean 'em?
No, we just did it rough style.
Rough, rustic.
No, it was so much fun, and we did that with a couple lobsters. Oh,
Yeah,
some fresh
fun,
corn.
huh?
You snap in half.
Yeah, I saw your pictures. Really, really great. We had them on our Facebook site. Really, really fun. There is nothing like that flavor in a red sauce, that blue crab flavor. Wow.
And like an Italian sauce.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It is
Froggy
really
olive, a
just
little chili pepper flake.
amazing. Okay, remember, we're going to talk about cooking solo with Clancy Miller, and also we're going to talk about lemon garlic shrimp and grits and so much more. We got lots of kitchen tips for you that are going to make you smarter in the kitchen. More mouthwatering conversation and fun ahead on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. I hope you'll make, I really do, a charitable contribution to feed the hungry. We're online now at foodschmooze.org, and we'll be right back.
All the single ladies, 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 all the single ladies. Now put your hands up.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. This show originally aired in 2016.
Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread had a fight. Beans knocked cornbread out of sight. Cornbread said, now that's all right. Meet me on the corner tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night. That's what Beans said to cornbread.
We have a free podcast for you. What does that mean? Even if you don't do this, you probably are used to hearing me say this. It's just something I feel compelled to pass along because, it is great to hear the show live and in the car, and it's all fantastic that way in the house as you're doing whatever you're doing. But life is crazy, and we got a lot of things going on, and so people get the podcast so you can click on it and listen anytime you want. You don't miss a drop of pleasure that way. Our tips, our recipes. All you have to do to get that free podcast is to sign up for it once. There's no trick with this, and then we'll send you 8,000 emails.
It's free.
No, it's just a thing. We just want you to get the show. So also, when you go to our site, you'll see we've got all these, I think, delicious, curated food, wine, and cocktail things, events. We love talking with you, so we encourage you, whether you get podcast or not, to stop by often and see us, talk with us at foodschmooze.org. I'm with my treasured food buddies, Chris Prosperi, chef and co-owner of Metro Beast Restaurant in Simsbury, Connecticut, wine broker Alex Province of Hartford, and senior producer Robin Doyen Aiken, who's also a participant on the show. And I love to say, because I hope their heads swell up to the size of Volkswagen, that I adore these people. I absolutely, it
Thanks,
makes
babe.
my day, my week, my life. It's just one of the best things in the world to do is to be around these folks.
Well, for us too.
Thank you. So here we go. We're going to do some kitchen tips. I love these. You know how it works with us. We cruise around online all over the place. We check out blogs. We go to all the food magazines. We watch the food shows on television. We do everything. And we start pulling tips from here and there. I have to say that so often I find things in Cooks Illustrated. So here is one that I think is terrific. We're in the berry season still. People are going to start using the fall fruits to make these pies. We have the holidays coming. And when you pre-bake a pie shell, they're always telling you to put,
Beans
foil or something to protect the pre-baked pie crust from burning when you're baking the filling. Oh. And so you're wrapping it with foil in it. Well, here's somebody writing in to say, my method is to cut out the center of a disposable aluminum foil pie plate. She cuts out the center, which leaves only that ring.
Wow.
And then
So smart.
Is that the smartest?
Oh, that's clever.
See?
Because they actually sell
Genius.
things you can buy, but this is
Sure. No,
this is almost
and
free.
you have it.
You have it
You
because you
have
got
it.
the pie
Yeah.
shell,
Or you have one
usually.
left over.
And so she just cuts out that circle with a pair of scissors, flips it upside down, and it covers the pie shell that's already
That's a good
pre-baked, and you don't want that to burn. So, okay, we all like that. How about you, cocktail makers?
So the last one I heard was making cocktails in a batch. I guess they used to do this in the old days. You would make, instead of making a single Manhattan, you would actually make a batch of them and put it in a bottle and store it. So I read it
And
in
then
some
shake it
magazine.
every day.
So say you have a group of people coming over, you make a pitcher of martinis or a pitcher of Manhattans,
Yeah, and
and you
then
have it
shake
all
it
ready
up.
to go. The thought is you're spending time with your guests. All you have to do is get a glass with some ice cubes and pour
And
it
then
in.
everyone's is the same instead of you get
Wow.
one that's too weak and one
Yeah.
that's too hot.
This is like-
yeah, I like that.
This is like I'm just picturing, based on our first segment where Alex and Matt were making days worth of meals in one set. I'm now seeing like a week's worth of Manhattans made
In the
as a
fridge.
thing. This is like-
No, it's 4 different cocktails in these tall things in the
Yeah,
fridge, all
pretty
lined
soon-
up. Like, do you want a martini or
Pretty soon you
margarita?
Next thing we're going to hear is there's a straw attached
Yeah.
to the pitcher in the refrigerator. You don't
IV.
have to actually move from your chair. No, that is fabulous. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I really do. I wonder how long it can stay in the fridge because spirits
Forever.
keep a
Yeah,
long time.
forever.
Bourbon,
Yeah, sure.
certainly.
Yeah.
Bitters.
Vodka,
yeah,
forever.
cherry juice. Okay.
Forever.
Well, here's a tip for a cocktail. This is a tip from somebody in Hawaii to Cooks Illustrated. Make a batch of cocktails. This woman's often making a batch, and she uses her fat separator. You know that plastic measuring cup? She uses it for mixing and serving drinks. And what the fat separator does is strain the ice out, just the way a cocktail shaker does, because it has that rim. And so the liquid pours through the holes, and the rim keeps the ice from going in. And so it's an instant cocktail shaker if you don't have one.
One less thing
like
to
it.
buy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or I have one. And this is a pretty cool one that I just recently discovered, and it's making pasta and a quick sauce. Now, have you ever bought mozzarella cheese and it comes in the brine or that
Yeah.
Yeah,
liquid?
sure.
Everyone throws that liquid away,
Yep.
including me. So the other day, this mozzarella season with salads and stuff, I actually tasted that liquid. Have you ever tasted it?
No.
Salty,
Right?
milky.
Yeah, it's like milky, lightly
Water.
salty. So I was like, you know what? Why couldn't I in a pinch? So I cooked some pasta. I drained the pasta out. And in that same pot, I threw in a little bit of that liquid into the pot.
Yeah.
I chopped up some mozzarella and some grape tomatoes, threw back my pasta. And I was like, oh my God, this is a great pasta.
Oh my God, that's a fantastic idea.
And it works with feta cheese too. If you like,
Yes.
if you like strong, this
Yeah.
is the mild version. And if you get your feta
Wow.
in brine,
Cheese
it works.
brine pasta.
Yeah, it is pretty cool stuff. I've been using fresh mozzarella probably for 25 years. I've never tasted that liquid.
I never have.
Sometimes I dump it before I even get the cheese out. Right? You open the container and you go right down the drain. So next time,
I
taste it, and then
am.
make a pasta out of it. It's
You can
pretty
do the
cool.
same with like
Is
the
there
caper
salt in
liquid
it?
too.
Same thing. Caper liquid's a little stronger, but you could add little bits
Yeah.
of that. So
Is
don't
salt
throw that
in
stuff-
it?
It's lightly salted. If you like it on the kicked
No,
up
I was
version.
just thinking if somebody's got to watch out for salt, this is not a good idea.
No, this is
right?
the one to use. Don't use the feta one because the feta one I found to be really salty.
Really salty,
But if you
okay.
like that, like
So
I
I'm sure
do,
there's nutrition in there too.
yeah, I'm
I
sure
do
some
too.
whey
Vitamins.
gets out, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
So
flavor.
that's a quick. I don't have sauce. I don't know what to eat, but I have cheese.
Oh, I love that. Okay, here's another one. You know when you have a bone-in cut, this goes with chicken, it can go with beef, whatever it is, a little Cornish hen.
Yep.
And I am hoping that my knives are sharp enough so I buy a rotisserie duck and then I'm plunging the knife into the center and I'm trying to cut it in half. And I'm stabbing the backbone on the duck, or the breastbone, and I'm stabbing at it, trying to get my knife to go through. I'm often not strong enough. Well, here's somebody writing in to say that if you use the mallet, where you take a piece of meat and put plastic wrap on it and pound the chicken breast or
that
the
one.
cube
Yep,
steak
yep,
or whatever it is. If you use that rubber mallet for those food purposes, you put your knife right where you want it on the chicken breast with the bone in, and then you whack it with the mallet. Bang, bang, bang.
good idea.
It goes straight through the bone, right in half, scored it right through the center.
Where do you get a rotisserie duck?
Oh, I go
Oh my
to
gosh.
this.
Yeah.
you get
And
one
Italian-
too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Adong in West Hartford, in the
Oh,
Elmwood
there-
section of Hartford.
yeah, a lot of
You can
places.
just
Hanging
shred it
ducks.
off the bone.
Often.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
put
God,
it
yeah.
in
A lot of
salad.
Asian
Yeah.
markets have that. I pull the skin off. I pull the meat right off the thing. I chop it up and I make a salad.
Yep.
And I do a kind of Asian dressing where I'll put sesame oil and soy and lime juice and chopped up mint and rice wine vinegar and sometimes a little pinch of sugar, and I mix it all up.
Yeah.
And then I put the shredded duck meat on the salad with chopped scallions. Bang.
Where have I been?
The dressing.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
it's
And
the
at
best.
Adong, you can't miss it. The second you walk through the door opens and you look to the left and they're hanging right there. Oh. They always have like 3 or 4. Oh my God, they're so good.
Often, some places, when they can get away with it, they'll charge you $18 for a duck. But in many other places,
Asian
it's
markets, it's not that
$9,
expensive.
$10. They're just fantastic. A lot of the Asian markets bring them in from New York because that's where they're doing them by the hundreds.
Yeah, and I think Adong too. I don't think they do their own. I
Yeah,
think they bring them in,
okay.
they just reheat them. But boy, are they good.
Oh, I know.
All right, I've got another one. All
Okay,
ready?
go,
And this
go.
one I've
Yeah, I
said
love
before, and
your tips.
I'm gonna say this one again. And this one I can say hands down. And I know people aren't gonna like me for it, but I'm gonna say it again. Jarred garlic.
Really?
Use jarred garlic.
That's my response, really.
I am never getting garlic under my fingernails again.
Wait a minute.
I
Why?
tested.
It doesn't taste chemically.
You know what? Go ahead because
get
we
the
did.
minced?
We did.
No,
No,
the minced
whole
or the
cloves.
whole? The whole
Whole cloves.
cloves.
We
Where?
did
At the
this.
supermarket?
At the supermarket. Little. I don't know. It's a little jar looking
Yeah.
thing. I bought a jar, and one of my chefs said the same thing to me. Oh, you gotta use fresh. Gotta use fresh. I'm like, let's do it.
Taste
Easy.
test, you're
It's
saying.
easy
Throw
to
down.
do. Let's just make a quick pasta with garlic. We'll make one in one pan, one in the other pan, and then we'll taste it. And you tell me which one has the fresh garlic and which one has the canned garlic.
Okay,
But you're a
what
chef, though. Your
happened?
hands are so fast.
It gets under your fingernails.
I want to
Keeps the
hear.
vampires
Nobody
away.
knew.
I
No
want to
one
hear
could tell.
what is in that stuff.
Nothing.
What's in the jar of the fresh
Garlic.
garlic?
To keep it from turning brown.
I don't believe you.
It's just garlic. It's just garlic.
It's
No,
got to have an
seriously.
antioxidant.
There,
in it.
there
just
must
garlic.
be some kind of sodium.
No,
blah,
sometimes
blah,
there's a.
or
sometimes
glutamate.
there's
blah, blah, blah.
Sometimes there's a. It's
What,
in a lot of
the
things.
do not eat
Yeah,
package?
the do not eat package. Sometimes you'll
The
find that in
silicone?
there. The silicone.
Not to be
Yeah,
consumed by
not to be
human
consumed.
beings.
Ooh, a
But I'm
salt
telling you,
packet.
listen, if you're like me, and maybe
Not
I'm the
made
only
from
one.
any substance on earth.
Maybe I'm the only one, but when I peel garlic, it always
Oh, it's
gets
on your hands,
under
yeah.
my fingernails.
That's why we have stainless
and
steel.
That is torture to me for some reason.
But I
Oh,
grew up with a
okay.
Spanish mom who, for breakfast, takes beautiful toast and rubs a clove
Yes,
of garlic
your
onto
mother.
the toast.
so
With,
try it
love
with the jarred
garlic.
garlic and tell me if it works.
okay.
I'm just saying, you know what?
They're
for
more expensive,
everyone-
maybe.
For anyone
Did you
who tells
look
me
at what's
no,
on the label?
There's just says garlic.
Did you
Yes,
look?
garlic.
Do I have to Google this?
It says ingredients.
Garlic.
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 What's the liquid?
There's no liquid. No, I'm not saying that. These are peeled cloves of garlic.
In the supermarket.
In the supermarket, in a jar, in a plastic jar. It has nothing in it except peeled,
There's
cloves.
no liquid.
There's no liquid.
Oh,
it's just
okay.
air.
I'm just seeing the liquid.
Yeah,
one.
no. I'm not saying buy that. I'm not saying the chopped ones or the ones in liquid. No. None of that. I'm just saying these are peeled cloves
Where
of
are
garlic.
you finding that? In
the produce section.
Refrigerator?
Produce section.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see them.
And it says you're swearing?
It's just garlic.
You're swearing?
100%. Because you
And
can
a little formaldehyde.
No, there's and I like once I found one of those little package. What are those things to get the moisture out? These are just
Wow,
peeled
okay.
garlic cloves. It's telling you,
Okay.
never peel garlic again.
So
Look, everyone's
we
looking at
learned
me.
on a recent show that the sell-by dates and the use-by dates for a lot of things are pretty crazy. And for whatever reason, you can blow past a lot of them unless there is mold in your food, and then out it goes. Cheese, of course, is okay because cheese is mold, and if there's mold on it, you just want to cut it off because that means it's better, okay? But everything else, if it has mold, throw it out. But the sell-by dates, the use-by dates are pretty crazy. New York Times story is what we're quoting. Okay, so when baking soda expires, here's a tip from Cooks Illustrated. A lot of people throw it out. I don't know if this applies to baking soda, whether you can blow past the date or not. So I'm not even going to get into that. But here's a woman writing in to say that she keeps that in a jar under her sink for every kind of cleaning task that she can come up with. There might be a spill in the oven, when something bubbles over and you've got that crusty, creepy thing down there. She just dumps on that baking soda to get rid of it. If she wants to get stains out of glassware, she uses that because it's excellent for that. If you take your glasses out of the dishwasher and they're marked with all those spots, just
this
a
is
rinse
basically
with baking
the box you put in your fridge after it's done. Don't throw it away.
Yeah, it's been in there for 4 years.
Yeah, which mine has.
Yeah.
Just use it for cleaning. I've seen on websites where they give you tips for cleaning with baking soda.
I use it to clean my microwave.
See, yeah.
Oh, what do you do?
I put some baking soda in a glass bowl, and I put an inch of water in there, enough to cover the baking soda. It's not a ton.
Like a paste.
Yeah, and I put the bowl in the microwave, and then I put the microwave on for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't like the idea of using a cleaning product on the inside of my microwave.
That's great. I like that. Yeah.
So the baking soda, it cooks for a couple minutes in this water solution, and then I take a paper towel and run it on the inside of my microwave, and it gets off all the
steam.
it gets off all the pasta
It's like a
sauce that my
steam
kids
cleaner.
have stuck to it and everything.
Great
It works
idea.
wonderfully.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and-
don't throw away your baking soda.
Okay,
Good
now,
one.
now here's everybody. I hate it when I have certain, running shoes and sneakers that are very important to me because I like them either for fit or design.
Like the
especially-
Italian ones,
It's
right?
like my ones from Italy. So if the white part of the sole gets, any dirt on it, I'm just really upset. So I have a cleaning toothbrush under the sink. I take the baking soda and put a little water in a bowl, and I make a paste, and I get my cleaning toothbrush, and I brush the white soles on sneakers to make them look new again.
And that
they
works.
do. And then I just rinse the sole part, and it works. So
And
if you have design sneakers,
Yeah, and it gets a little
Look,
scuff mark on them
and
or
it gets-
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
envisioning
it's-
overnight guests are like, oh, don't worry, I found a toothbrush. found it in the kitchen.
Never
Well,
use a
look,
toothbrush
baking-
that you find
Yeah.
under the
No,
sink.
don't they make toothpaste out of baking soda?
Oh, it tastes Italian.
Yes, they do. They
Don't
do.
they
It's
make
a good.
toothpaste out of
It's
baking
really the
Oh, we used
abrasion.
to brush your
It's a
teeth
good-
as kids with baking soda.
So maybe it works.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Have no enamel left, but
I know. All right. So anyway, I'm trying to get you to make a lemon garlic shrimp and grits, where you do instant grits and you grate in some Parmesan cheese, a little bit of butter. You've got the shrimp, a little bit of cayenne, and some lemon juice, and you kind of mix it all together, and it is absolutely so delicious. So you've got a cheesy lemony grit with shrimp in there. You toss it. You can just rest the shrimp on top if you want. It's just simple. You can kind of do it by instinct. You just make those instant grits. You can do this in a night. That's inspired by Food Network magazine. I love grits. I love shrimp.
How are they different than polenta?
So Chris,
It's the cut. It's the
cut,
same.
just coarser?
It's a coarser. So basically, when the mills are sized,
Yep.
they do grits is the largest, then cornmeal is next, and then the finest is corn flour. So those are the three.
And it's adjusted on the wheel?
It's
or
adjusted on
during
the wheel as they crack
Ah,
it.
okay. What do we got? We've got Cooking Solo, and wow, is this woman something. Clancy Miller coming your way. We love the local. Please support your local food growers and food makers. And for on-demand podcast delivery of this show every week, and to find our curated food, wine, and cocktail recommendations, our streaming videos, we're always online at foodschmooze.org, and we'll be right back.
I don't know what you've been told, but the sky right here is gonna rule the world. Yeah, that is where I'm gonna be, because I wanna be. No, I don't wanna sit still. Look pretty.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. This show originally aired in 2016.
It's just me, myself, and I. Solo ride until I die. Cause I got me for life.
Got me for life.
Woo, I don't need a hand to hold. Even when the night is cold, I got that fire in my soul.
This is the Food Schmooze Party, offering the richness of life and coming to you in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New York, including Westchester County, the east end of Long Island, and that, of course, means the Hamptons. The senior producer is Robin Doyen-Aiken. Podcasts and our curated recommendations are always online at foodschmooze.org. Of course, you can talk with us on Facebook. Search Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. I am so excited. This woman blows me away. And let me tell you why. Because this is Clancy Miller. She is a writer. She is a pastry chef, loves all things French. But listen to her background. She graduates from Columbia University, works in international development in French Polynesia, then earns a patisserie diploma at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, then stays in Paris, she's no fool, to apprentice in the pastry kitchen at one of the greatest restaurants ever in Paris, which is Talavant. She's then hired later by Le Cordon Bleu Paris to join the recipe development team there. And she's been featured on the Food Network, and on she goes, and has done something with this book. It's on our website with 3 of her recipes from the book that we especially like. This is called Cooking Solo, the joy of cooking for yourself. Can you blow these up to include other people? Of course you can. But this is a great idea. But for many reasons, we're solo, right? Either you are not in a relationship with someone, or your family is so busy that you end up sitting there cooking just for yourself. So Clancy, recognizing that, said, let's do something with that idea. And I just think it is absolutely terrific. Clancy Miller, welcome to the Food Schmooze.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to jump right in for this. The second day salmon with linguine is a great idea. Because, you don't eat all the salmon all the time, and you think, what am I going to do with it? Put some mayonnaise in there? But no, this is a better idea. So what are you thinking with this?
I had a good friend of mine visiting from Paris. She was so kind. She, I think, wanted to be a good guest and kind of would whip up a meal every now and again for both of us. And I happened to have made salmon the night before, and I had some creme fraiche, and she just went out and bought dill and whipped something up out of it, and I loved it. I loved that concept. I happen to love capers, so when I was making it for myself, I added capers and dill, and the great thing about the creme fraiche is it's like an automatic cream sauce. It kind of liquefies pretty easily, and it's just a great way to use your leftovers and have a really lovely meal.
Chris, how do we describe what creme fraiche is? People are always baffled by this. It's like a cross between sour cream and whipped cream, right? Would you say?
I always say it's interchangeable with sour cream. It has a slightly different taste and texture profile, but it's pretty close.
So if you don't have it, I'll say, Clancy, what the ingredients are, and then you just tell us how easily this comes together. Water and salt and linguine, cooked flaked salmon, fresh squeezed lemon juice, chopped fresh dill, creme fraiche or sour cream, extra virgin olive oil, the capers that you definitely want to rinse, and some fresh ground black pepper. So after cooking linguine, how are you making the sauce?
It's pretty simple. You're going to drain the pasta, And then you add the salmon, the dill that you've already chopped, the creme fraiche and the olive oil, and just a tiny bit of salt, and just a grind of the fresh black pepper, and you toss it. You can toss it with tongs or spoons, and I always like to taste it before I sit down to eat to see if I need to add any more salt or pepper, and that's it.
And of course, if you're gluten-free, there are a million gluten-free pastas. We especially love the Jovial brand, and we don't say that because we're commercial. We say it because our job is to curate for you, and when we find something really terrific, we like to tell you about it. So that's on our website, that recipe, foodschmooze.org. So when you're at the market and you're getting some salmon, get a little bit extra. Right,
Exactly.
Clancy?
You'll thank yourself the next day.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we just made this. When I say we, that means Chris. Chris made your recipe, and I was knocked out by this. This also is at foodschmooze.org. Please, please, please make this. Polenta with shiitake mushrooms. That sounds so simple. Her polenta is so delicious. Tell us how you do your polenta.
My secret ingredient here would be a tiny bit of truffle oil. So you have the earthiness of the shiitake mushrooms, which I'm not a vegetarian, but I try to occasionally reduce my meat intake. And I just think mushrooms are a wonderful way to substitute meat. And they're very fast to cook. What's great about this is that you just have the earthiness of the shiitake mushrooms, and I add just a hint of vinegar to a little bit of the polenta. There's also the poached egg on top, which adds like a protein.
Oh, yeah.
Little bit of protein. And because it's poached, it's got this silky thing going. So what I like about this dish is that you've got several textures. You've got the graininess, a little bit of the polenta, which is also creamy, and then you've got the meatiness of the shiitake mushrooms, and then the velvety, silky poached egg on top.
And if you don't want to do a poached egg and you want to do something else for protein, you can do that too.
Exactly.
It's just a wonderful polenta. And anybody, if you're scared of making polenta, can we just tell you, Clancy, say Chris, how easy this is
Boil
to
water.
make. Boil water.
Boil water, add polenta.
Yeah, you just stir.
Season.
And that's it. It's thick, and it starts to pull away from the sides of the pan, and it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. It's a little meditative. It's kind of lovely, and you're going to whisk in a little of that truffle oil, and you're going to whisk in Parmigiano Reggiano, and that's what makes it so good. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's rich without being something that'll make you feel guilty.
Yes, that's how we like to think here, too. Okay, so this is Clancy Miller, who has been schooled beyond belief in the best places and has done this book, a book I respect so much, Cooking Solo. And it's about the joy of cooking for yourself, whether you're in a family and are left to your own devices on busy weeknights.
Like me.
Yeah, yes, like our Robin and me.
Where'd everybody go?
Hello.
And Chris at home, believe it or not. Okay, so that's at our website, foodschmooze.org. Let's turn to another one, because I also want to know from you, Clancy, what it was like to work at Televant in Paris. This is an orange blossom almond cake. Who, as a single person, thinks, I'm going to make a cake for myself? I love that you did this.
I love cakes probably more than anything else. There's a reason why I studied pastry. I have a definite sweet tooth. So I was excited about every recipe in this cookbook, but probably doubly so about every dessert.
Wow. So orange blossom almond cake. I'm not a baker. I freely admit that, and I'm scared to death of baking. But when I was looking at your recipe, I thought, oh, I can do this. And I loved that it had almond flour in it, and in addition, a gluten-free flour for people who are gluten-free.
Exactly. I think almond flour is an ideal flour to use if you are either getting rid of gluten entirely from your diet, or in this case, I mix it. It's kind of half almond flour, half if you'd like gluten-free flour. And it just adds a great texture.
I was going to say, it's like a body.
Absolutely.
It's like cornbread kind of texture, a little heavy toward the heaviness.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
love
you
that.
get the heaviness. It feels substantial in a really good way.
Let me just run through the ingredients so you can get a feel for this as you listen. We know you haven't seen this recipe yet, most of you. So butter and sugar and eggs, whole milk, orange blossom water. Where do we get that? At the health food store, I know for sure.
Health food stores, sometimes you can even find it. I've been able to find it at Whole Foods. You can find it at gourmet stores, any place that has Middle Eastern products.
Yeah, and it does make a difference. Vanilla extract, the almond flour, which you can now get everywhere, gluten-free flour, and baking powder, salt, creme fraiche or sour cream, fresh raspberries, 2 oranges cut into rounds, and a little confectioner's sugar for dusting. And you get this heavy body, beautiful orange blossom almond cake. And it is gluten-free. Great job, Clancy.
Thank you.
All right. So for people who don't know, Talavant is one of the oldest and most revered restaurants in all of Paris. It has a stunning wine list. Every dish that comes out of the kitchen is just bring you to your knees. I mean, it's close to perfection in classic French as you can get. So what was that like? Were you in on the, peel 100,000 pounds of potatoes and don't say a word about it? Was that where you walked in?
Well, I was actually in the pastry kitchen there, so I didn't have to deal with potatoes. I dealt with a lot of chocolate. I used to have to dice the fruit. At the time, we used to serve a fruit minestrone, so it had kiwi and strawberry, almost any kind of fruit you can imagine, cut into the most minuscule dice, just a step up from them being minced. So that was kind of my first task of the day, to prepare that for the lunch menu. But it was magnificent. It's a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. And
it is.
It kind of made me stand tall every time I would walk through those doors. And it was I could not have asked for a more magical experience and a better follow-up to what I learned at Le Cordon Bleu. The pastry chef he was actually really kind and funny, but just superb at creating beautiful, beautiful desserts and beautiful mignardises.
Is it possible to get a reservation?
Oh, yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's best to call in advance, maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 years.
Or, yeah, exactly, or maybe 2 to 3 months. But here's a tip. Lunch is always easier to get into.
And are the main chefs working at lunch? Well, this place cannot fail. I mean, they cannot just put on some second string and say, it's really dinner. They just can't get away with that at Talavant. So was the kitchen quiet, or was there a lot of running around and, yelling at people? And what was that like?
It was mostly quiet. I think the thing that struck me first is that, I had a little bit of restaurant experience in the States, and there would at least be radios playing or something. Mm-hmm. That was not the case at Talavant. There was no radio. You weren't expected to talk a lot. Everybody just kind of had to keep their heads down and do their work. But, as the day went on, there would be conversations, but never anything too boisterous. The yelling would happen during service if somebody messed up, and that did happen. I mean, messing up not in some gigantic way, but just, you have to keep up a level of perfection, and if you diverge from that a little bit, you will be yelled at.
Yes.
So I didn't feel like it was harsh. I think everybody probably got yelled at least once. I probably got yelled at once or twice, but the chef was really nice, actually. He just wanted you to get it right.
Yes, I believe in you. You can do this better. So restaurant staff often get fed food that is different from the main menu, though some restaurants will say, we want you to taste the main menu so that when it's being explained, this is for the wait staff, you know exactly what this is like. And other times it's in the training of the people. What did you have? Did you have staff meal?
We did have staff meals. It was definitely different from the menu. It was pretty good. It wasn't outstanding. It did not approach anything that people would eat in the restaurant as paying
What was it
customers.
like? Pasta or?
A lot of pasta, occasionally pasta and maybe some kind of meat. There would be cheese. There were baguettes always. We also had wine sometimes. It was very simple. nothing, frankly, to write home about. It was the quick and easy food, because it's not like we were given a large amount of time to kind of have a leisurely meal.
Yeah. So what are you doing now in your life that is the most enjoyable thing of all the things you do?
Well, it's been incredibly enjoyable just seeing this cookbook come to fruition. So I'm working on ideas for my next cookbook, which will probably be more dessert related. So promoting this cookbook has been incredibly fun, and I'm definitely in the midst of doing that. I also I wear another hat as a writer in fundraising. But I have to say, I really love coming up with recipes. It's always fun for me to develop the next bunch of recipes.
The book is called Cooking Solo. Her 3 recipes we talked about on the show are at our website. But what a fabulous idea that you have in this book. Cornbread waffles with jalapenos and sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That is so, so good.
I'm so glad you like it.
Great to talk to you. I hope you'll be a guest on the show again.
Thank you so much. Great talking with you.
Yeah, you're great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Recipes again, foodschmooze.org. We're on WNPR Thursdays at 3, and never eat more than you can lift. In New Haven, I'm Faith Middleton.
Everybody eats when they come to my